Let's start with our first news. UFC 329 is officially shaping up to be one of the biggest cards of the entire year, and fans are already losing their minds over the lineup. The event will be headlined by the long-awaited return of Conor, who is finally stepping back into the octagon to face Max Holloway in a massive rematch on International Fight Week. The announcement instantly sent shockwaves through the MMA world, as many fans believed this fight would never happen again after years of delays and uncertainty surrounding Conor's comeback. But that's not the only huge fight confirmed for the card. Paddy Pimblett versus Benoit Saint-Denis has now been made official as the co-main event, and the matchup already has fans calling it an absolute war waiting to happen. BSD brings relentless pressure, brutal finishing ability, and non-stop aggression, while Paddy enters the fight with his unpredictable style, dangerous submissions, and growing confidence after his recent performances. Stylistically, this matchup looks insane and could easily steal the entire show. Bisping also reacted to the announcement and explained why the fight makes perfect sense. He pointed out that Paddy and Benoit are ranked right next to each other, making this a logical step toward title contention. He also talked about the historic rivalry between England and France, joking about the centuries of tension between both countries, while praising the incredible atmosphere of MMA events in Paris. According to Bisping, the French fans are some of the loudest and most passionate in the sport today. The card will also feature Olympic wrestling sensation Gable Stevenson, making his UFC debut with a perfect 3-0 MMA record. He's scheduled to face Elisha Ellison in what many believe will be the first real test of his transition into mixed. Move on to another news. Alex Volkanovski's coach Joe Lopez has now confirmed that Movsar Evloev is most likely next in line for the featherweight title shot, and according to him, it is absolutely the right decision. Lopez explained that Movsar has waited a very long time for this opportunity and deserves respect for remaining undefeated while consistently beating top competition in the division. He made it clear that even though Diego Lopez had a strong run, Movsar should have received the opportunity first because he has been sitting at the top of the rankings for a long time now. Lopez also revealed that Volk still has the same hunger and motivation that helped turn him into one of the greatest featherweights in MMA history. In fact, he admitted he would personally be happy if Alex retired today and walked away from the sport on top, but the champion clearly isn't thinking that way. According to Lopez, Volk remains completely locked in, motivated, and determined to continue competing at the highest possible level. The coach also defended Volk against criticism surrounding his recent performances. Lopez revealed that Alex suffered a shoulder injury around 6 weeks before the fight against Diego Lopez, and because of that injury, he entered the fight at only around 80%. He explained that the shoulder problem prevented Volk from fully using his wrestling and forced him to rely heavily on striking throughout the fight. Even while injured, Volk still managed to perform at an elite level, which Lopez believes says everything about his mentality and toughness. At the same time, some fighters are already trying to push themselves into the title conversation. Yosef Zalal recently made headlines after claiming the only reason Volk wants to fight Movsar is because he sees him as a one-dimensional fighter and an easier stylistic matchup. Zalal even suggested that Volk is avoiding him entirely, comments that immediately sparked backlash from fans online. Many people called the take delusional, especially considering Volk's reputation for always facing the toughest available contenders without hesitation. Lopez also addressed rumors about Arman potentially moving down to featherweight, saying he does not believe a cut to 145 pounds is realistic. He then spoke about a possible rematch with Ilya, making it clear that. Move on to another news. Arman has now revealed that Khamzat has completely shifted his focus away from a possible move to light heavyweight, and instead, he is now fully locked in on getting a rematch with Sean Strickland. According to Arman, Khamzat's entire mindset changed after becoming champion, and the motivation inside him is now stronger than ever. Rather than chasing new divisions or super fights, Khamzat reportedly wants to settle unfinished business and run things back with Strickland as soon as possible. However, the situation is far from simple. After UFC 328, Strickland publicly shut down the idea of giving Khamzat an immediate rematch. He made it clear that he believes Khamzat needs to earn another title shot before stepping back into the cage with him again. That response immediately created debate among fans, especially because Khamzat has remained one of the most active and fearless fighters when it comes to accepting challenges across multiple weight classes. The biggest issue right now appears to be Strickland's health. Reports confirmed that he is currently dealing with several serious shoulder injuries following the fight. He has reportedly suffered a grade 2 AC joint separation, a tear in the upper labrum, and a partial rotator cuff tear. On top of that, the New Jersey Athletic Commission has placed him under an indefinite suspension while he recovers. Because of those injuries, the possibility of an immediate rematch now seems highly unlikely, and attention is already shifting toward who Khamzat could realistically face next while waiting for Strickland to heal. Chael Sonnen also reacted to the entire situation and gave his thoughts on whether the rematch should happen. According to Chael, Khamzat has done everything right throughout his UFC run. He pointed out that Khamzat has never avoided anyone, regardless of weight class, and has consistently tried to create massive fights wherever possible. Chael even mentioned that Khamzat has repeatedly attempted to stir up business with fighters in completely different divisions just to stay active and keep fans interested. At the same time, Chael admitted the situation surrounding Khamzat's future. Move on to another news. Jon Jones reunited with Rampage Jackson 15 years after their iconic fight, as the two crossed paths at a Saturday MVP event where Jones apologized for injuring Rampage's knee during their 2011 bout. "Hey, what's up? How you doing? How's everything?" Jones said as they met. Rampage responded with excitement, saying it was great to see him. The atmosphere quickly turned light and humorous as both fighters reflected on their history and the legendary fight they once shared. They joked about the past, with Rampage referencing the damage from the bout, while Jones admitted, "My bad," acknowledging the knee injury. Rampage responded that it was all part of the game and reminded him that what happens in the cage stays in the cage, emphasizing mutual respect despite their brutal history. The conversation continued with both men laughing about fan reactions, online clips, and even AI edits circulating about their careers. Rampage joked about being called a two-division champ in memes, while Jones responded with laughter, saying he knows how fans can exaggerate things online. Despite the humor, there was clear respect between the two veterans. Rampage expressed that he still carries memories from their fight, joking about his knees still feeling the effects. Jones again apologized, but Rampage quickly brushed it off, saying it was all good and part of fighting at the highest level. They also discussed travel, with Rampage encouraging Jones to visit Japan, calling it an incredible experience. Jones admitted he had never been, while Rampage joked about having family connections there and enjoying his time overseas. As the moment wrapped up, both fighters shared a handshake and a friendly goodbye. Rampage thanked Jones for the interaction, and Jones wished him well. The exchange ended on a positive note, with Rampage telling fans to be respectful in chat while joking that people online are never nice to him. The interaction highlighted the long-standing mutual respect between two of the sport's most recognizable veterans, showing how time has softened old rivalries into appreciation and shared memories from a different era of MMA history. Both men ultimately left the event on positive terms, reinforcing the idea that Move on to another news. Mike Perry delivered a brutal performance in the co-main event, blooding and battering Nate Diaz over 2 rounds before the fight was ultimately stopped due to severe cuts. Diaz took significant damage throughout the contest, with Perry's pressure and striking overwhelming him as the fight progressed. Speaking at the post-fight press conference, Nate Diaz addressed the loss and immediately called for an ASAP rematch, insisting that he was still fully capable of continuing. Diaz admitted he was frustrated, but claimed the stoppage came at a difficult moment, explaining that his eye was leaking heavily and he was struggling to see properly. He said the damage made it nearly impossible for him to continue effectively in the fight. Diaz also pushed back on the idea that Perry had full control, suggesting that neither fighter would have been able to do much more if the fight had continued. He explained that he felt blinded by blood on the right side, which severely limited his performance inside the cage. Despite the outcome, Diaz insisted that he was just getting back into MMA rhythm after time away from the sport. He went on to reflect on his return to training, explaining that MMA is extremely demanding work, both physically and mentally. Diaz said that as he trained more consistently, his body began to adapt again, describing how everything from his legs to his overall conditioning started to come together. According to him, he was only just beginning to reach full rhythm before stepping into the fight. Diaz emphasized that the process of rebuilding his form takes time, and that he now feels ready to keep competing at a high level. He stated that the timing of the fight came just as he was starting to feel fully adjusted again, suggesting that fans had not yet seen him at his best version during this comeback period. When asked about what comes next, Diaz made his intentions very clear. He was directly asked whether he wants an immediate rematch with Mike Perry, and if so, how soon it could happen. Diaz responded without hesitation, saying that right now, it is all about an ASAP return. He made it clear that after healing up, he plans to get back to training immediately, even stating that he will start running again as early as Monday. Diaz left no doubt that he is eager to run it back, expressing strong interest in facing Perry again as soon as possible, believing the rivalry is far from over and that another fight would settle unfinished business inside the cage. Move on to another news. Nate Diaz has come under heavy backlash from the MMA community following his recent fight, with multiple fighters and personalities reacting strongly to his performance and post-fight comments. The criticism intensified after Diaz was stopped due to severe cuts in his co-main event clash against Mike Perry, a result that sparked immediate debate online. One of the most vocal reactions came from Charles Oliveira, who had recently been criticized by Diaz after Oliveira's BMF title win over Max Holloway. Oliveira reshared a post that included extremely harsh comments directed at Diaz, claiming that even a drunk, homeless fighter would perform better, calling the performance embarrassing. The message continued with even more aggressive language, suggesting that Diaz would be overwhelmed by basic leg attacks from lower-level grapplers and warning him never to mention Oliveira again. The post emphasized that BMF is not just a belt, but a lifestyle commitment, directly questioning Diaz's dedication and professionalism. The criticism did not stop there, as other voices from the MMA world also joined in. Dylan Danis added fuel to the situation with his own reaction, mocking Diaz's appearance and performance in extremely disrespectful terms. Danis described Diaz in a highly insulting way, comparing him to a drunk uncle fighting at a barbecue and openly questioning the legitimacy of the stoppage. He suggested that Diaz would likely use the argument that the fight was not a clean finish due to it ending via cuts, implying that the result would still be debated heavily by fans and critics alike. The backlash highlights how polarizing Diaz remains in the MMA world, especially after high-profile fights where expectations are extremely high. While his fan base continues to support him and defend his toughness, critics argue that his recent performances have not lived up to the standards set earlier in his career. The discussion has quickly spread across social media platforms, with opinions sharply divided between supporters who believe Diaz is still dangerous and critics who feel his time at the top level has passed. Despite the controversy, the conversation continues to keep Diaz at the center of attention in the MMA world, as debates around his future, his performances, and potential rematches remain ongoing across. Move on to another news. Dana White has announced massive fights for UFC 329. Conor, who hasn't fought since suffering a broken leg in his trilogy bout with Dustin Poirier at UFC 264 in July 2021, will return in a rematch against Max Holloway in the UFC 329 main event on July 11th at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. The bout is scheduled for 5 rounds at welterweight. Dana White announced the highly anticipated rematch, along with several other notable fights including Paddy Pimblett versus Benoit Sandini, Gable Stevenson versus Alicia Ellison, Corey Sandhagen versus Mario Bautista, and more. Going to break the International Fight Week card for you: Stevenson versus Ellison, Roy Val versus Kavanaugh, Sandhagen versus Bautista, BSD versus Paddy Pimblett, July 11th, International Fight Week, and the main event, Max Holloway versus Conor. There you have it. It's going to be a hell of a summer. Following the announcement, Conor sent a message to Holloway: "You're going to put respect on my mother name," followed up with, "I'm going to son you, child again." There's been heavy discussion on social media after the UFC appeared to announce Conor versus Holloway, with fans reacting strongly to the stacked lineup and the return of major stars to International Fight Week. Fans immediately began debating the implications of Conor's return after a long layoff, with many calling the matchup against Max Holloway one of the biggest fights in recent UFC history. The announcement also highlighted the depth of the card, with rising prospects and established contenders all featured across International Fight Week, making it one of the most stacked events of the year. Dana White emphasized that this lineup represents a major push to deliver unforgettable matchups for fans around the world, with each fight carrying significant stakes and potential title implications. Meanwhile, Conor continued to build anticipation online, sending a sharp message to Holloway following the announcement, intensifying the rivalry and adding even more hype ahead of July 11th in Las Vegas. Social media quickly erupted with reactions from